Hello again, everyone. I'm back with another ENDMS training video. Today we will be talking about the competencies and entering model services. So just to get started, just to give some context, the model services come from the different competencies that JAG has identified that students need in order to be successful citizens in the workplace or in life or in post-secondary education. So we have 20 out-of-school competencies which are identified in this document that you can find in Dropbox. And then for our core competencies for multi-year programs, we have 37 that are broken into these different categories. So when you're delivering model services and entering them into the system, they will be aligned to these competencies. So these are the different ones. A lot of pretty self-explanatory, constructing a resume, job searching, problem solving, and so on. Specifically for a minute, I'm going to talk about out-of-school model service expectations. It is an expectation that if a student is enrolled for a year, that you're achieving around 80 hours of contact with them for the year. Multi-year, it's 120. We know that with out of school that the 80 is a really high number. We know that that's a very challenging population to be working with, can be quite transient at times. But if you think that a student, if they're on a roster for 12 months, that's about 1.5 hours a week per student. So this is a little bit more of a digestible number. And thinking like if they aren't on the roster for a full year, if they get their GED before the 12-month period is up, can you work toward this 1.5 hours in some form or another? So this document is also available in the Dropbox. Let me actually just go there for a minute so I can show you where this information is. But as you may have picked up on the theme now, really your main two places are either going to be in the multi-year and alternative folder or the out-of-school folder. So in the model services folder, we have this out-of-school model service expectation document, and that's where you can find it. So in this situation, we're just kind of outlining what the expectations are when we're talking about these model services. Basically, however, in the system, you should be inputting some kind of contact that you are having with a student at least once a week. It may not be that 1.5 hours, but there should be something happening because, for example, if you take a student to Washington, D.C. and achieve, 40, 50, 60 hours of contact in a matter of a week, that's going to balance out to your 80 hours of services over the year. Similarly, you take a student to legislative day, the CDC, you earn 12 hours in a week. So it's okay if 1 week you only have 30 minutes, but you need to be documenting every week there needs to be something in the system. So in order to adequately deliver the services to students, these documents in the system need to be made similar to WIOA. It's basically just case noting. So your methods of engagement can include connecting with the student over the phone, through text or social media, connecting with their partners. So if you're connecting them with their GED coaches, with their adult ed instructors, if you're meeting with their PO officers with the student, if you're having informal conversations with them. Here are some examples of what's going on in this case that you will be documenting in the system. So this is different for multi-year. Yours is a little bit more straightforward. You're essentially just documenting your lesson plans. So if you go right into the system, enter model services. Don't go through your individual student tabs. It will get really confusing if you do it that way. So you'll go to your individual rosters, and in this case, I'll go to mine, the active. Now, again, if you have multiple students, they're all going to show up down here. Very self-explanatory going through here. There's one little glitch I'll talk about. You'll enter the date. So let's say that I delivered a model service yesterday. The length needs to be in minutes. So let's say that you worked with a student for an hour and a half. You cannot put 1.5 hours in the system. It won't let you save. Put 90 minutes, similar to 2 hours, 180 minutes. Select an activity. Now, here is where we have another handy dandy document for you to refer to if you aren't sure which activity you should be picking. We have this model service activity description document, which kind of gives you a little bit of guidelines here in terms of exactly what, if you did these different things with your students, what you should be selecting. So the top gives lots of detail. The bottom is kind of just like a go-to chart. You can think of all the different activities you possibly would have done. And then on the right side, we've got the different codes. So AR is academic remediation, OT is other, ES is employability skill training. So you will select which activity you did. Our in-school specialists spend a lot of time in employability skill training. That's anything that has to do with delivering those competencies. Our out-of-school specialists spend a lot of time in that section as well, but they also spend quite a bit of time in guidance counseling. That's a lot of the one-on-one activities that you do, really coaching our students to make good choices, talking through the challenges that they are working through barrier removal and so on. So in this case, we'll say guidance counseling. And then the narrative needs to only be a few sentences, but it's important that in this case, you're kind of showing the work that you were doing for the student. Just similar to case noting, but make sure that it's kind of showing, documenting exactly what was happening. So let's say that in this case, you're working on barrier removal for a student. So, I went with Kara to the, we could say, service center to get a bus pass. She has been struggling with coming to her GED class on time. We discussed ways for her to manage her time better, and you could add a little bit more detail to that if needed. So this could be a level 1 competency for sure. So there's not really anything that they're mastering here. Competencies, if you're out of school, it's going to automatically show you your O's because that's all you're picking from. If you're in school, you're picking from everything but out of school competencies. In out of school, you can also pick WIOA competencies. So that's WIOA 90 through 99, I believe. So in this case, I would probably pick adult mentoring, maybe guidance comprehensive guidance counseling as some options. So I would probably pick an adult mentoring or supportive services here. And then you would select the name of the person. If you have a larger roster here, and I'll actually just go and show that to you. Well, actually, I'm not going to because I'm worried about student privacy on these public videos. So if you had a larger roster, you would be able to select all of the students' names and you could deselect them. So if you were in a multi-year class, you could select all, 15 students that you're seeing at a time. So then I'm going to click Submit. It's going to save. When you click on the student's name, You can scroll down to model services and you will see that it's populated here. One thing I forgot to mention is that you can select multiple competencies at a time. However, we do have a maximum number, which I believe we set as 10. We do not want you to select more than 10 competencies at once. So let me go back in and just show you how you can do that really quickly. So I could pick 01 and then go back in and pick 04. So you can pick, if they do more than one competency at a time, you could definitely pick them. But more than 10, the student is not really getting that competency in that amount of time. The narrative, you can definitely copy and paste from another case note, from a lesson plan that you've created. You know, it doesn't have to be unique to what you're entering here. And so model service is quite self-explanatory.